Now, let's move on to the paper review. We're going to look through the main stories in the world's media today. And Dipti is joining us. She's going to talk about French leaders meeting in Versailles today to finalise the enshrining of abortion rights into the constitution, Dipti.
Yeah, that's right, Stuart. Members of French Parliament are indeed gathered in Versailles for this Congress today, this meeting in which they're essentially going to enshrine the French women's right to abortion in the French constitution. The right to abortion is expected to become a constitutional right this Monday. A freedom forever, that's what Libération says on its front page, and quite a lovely front page this Monday, paying tribute to what it calls an historic victory of the perseverance of MPs from all parties. Today's victory in France is also, according to Libération, a necessary antidote given the return of reactionary and conservative politics around the world, notably in the US when it comes to abortion rights. While L'Humanité, that's a communist paper in France, says the world is watching France today. It says on its front page here, reminding us that 47,000 women die every year around the world due to secretive or clandestine abortions. The paper hails the move today as a world first political and historical act, while warning that at a time when hospital budgets are being slashed, when medical services outside of big cities are increasingly reducing, it's important to continue fighting to ensure now that abortion is also accessible to everyone.
Now let's go to Germany for this next story. A scandal has erupted there after a discussion over Ukraine aid among top defence officials. It's been leaked online by Russian state media, this.
Yeah, and it is a very multi-layered scandal, causing controversy for several reasons. On Friday, a 38-minute recording was released in Russia in which Air Force Inspector Ingo Gerhardt and 3 other officers discussed the possible use of German Taurus cruise missiles by Ukrainian armed forces, and discussed whether the armed forces whether the German military would have to be involved. On Telegram, Russian TV channel RT posted a transcript of German generals discussing attacks on Russian targets. Now, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has slammed the leaks as part of Vladimir Putin's disinformation campaign against the West. It's here on the front page of Der Tagesspiegel, that's a Berlin-based paper. That's garnering a lot of information, a lot of reactions as well in the German press today.
What about reactions from the press then, Dipti?
Well, let's show you Frankfurter Allgemeiner. This article here gives us a bit of background. It evokes the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's angst over the Taurus missiles, explaining that he was very opposed to sending these cruise missiles in the first place because, firstly, it would require German soldiers on the ground to help with the launch of such weaponry, and he didn't want that, but also because of his fears of the long-range power of Taurus missiles, meaning that they could be fired from inside Ukraine, but they could end up outside of Moscow. Again, something that he deemed too risky. So that's why this article here evokes his angst around this topic. But that's why this scandal is all the more interesting, because as you see in this article, this writer here calling it the Taurus fiasco, the leaks essentially will force Olaf Scholz's hand now. Heads will have to roll as a result of this wiretapping scandal, because it has also brought into serious question Germany's reliability and secrecy. It's also not clear what Olaf Scholz will do now. Will he have to fire his defense minister, who is very popular? Will he have to revisit his Taurus decision? All of this remains to be seen. But the scandal has also shown how the Kremlin knows what makes the chancellor tick and how to use it to their advantage. That's what this columnist argues here today.
So trouble in Germany, trouble in Israel as well. This is in Israel's top government circles. Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly furious over his war cabinet minister and political rival Benny Gantz's US trip.
Yeah, that's right. It's in the Jerusalem Post today. Benny Gantz, the war cabinet minister, is heading to the U.S. And Benjamin Netanyahu is furious over the optics of his political rival heading to the U.S., where he'll be meeting with Kamala Harris, the U.S. vice president, and other top officials. Netanyahu reportedly saying that Israel only has one prime minister, him, and furious that Benny Gantz did not give prior warning, nor did he ask permission. addition, his visit, Gantz's visit to the U.S. aims to increase the legitimacy of Israel's counteroffensive in Gaza, while also discussing efforts to free the Israeli hostages held in Gaza and strengthen U.S.-Israeli ties. In Haaretz today, there's quite an interesting analysis piece for this columnist, which says that, formally speaking, Benjamin Netanyahu does have a point. Gantz did organize this trip behind his back, but it also shows the level of distrust of Netanyahu, and not just among his political ranks. The paper reminding us that the U.S., too, is becoming increasingly distrustful of Netanyahu and fears the direction that Israel is headed under him. For this writer, it reminds him of the governments of Yitzhak Shamir and Shimon Peres, who at the time were divided ideologically. This time, Netanyahu and Gantz are divided, but it's more for personal reasons, he argues.
Finally, from Gypsy, should we lighten the mood a little bit? This is a wild police chase of a very different kind in the US recently.
Yeah, that's right. Something deliciously ironic about police horses escaping from their stables and then making a bolt for it. They headed down a busy highway. In fact, the longest highway in the U.S., it's the I-90. They were caught in the state of Ohio recently. The horses sprinted down before veering off course. Let's show you that video, which is quite sweet to watch, as you see the horses coming down that highway. There they are. And the motorists are quite unsure what to do, so everyone sort of comes to a standstill. Police were able to capture them, and luckily there was an injury, Stuart. Not sure what the equine punishment for dereliction of duty is, though.
Dear, they need someone to take the reins, don't they? That's what they need. That's what they need. Fantastic stuff, though. I mean, so glad that didn't turn out how it could have done. But yeah, fantastic to see those motorists being very, very careful. They're Dipty with the papers for you here on France 24.